Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and we are here on Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., and Wednesdays at 9 a.m. for a special edition of Tell Me Your Story. When we do those broadcasts, we're streaming those broadcasts live at richarddugan.com, and the podcasts are on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music, many other locations as well. We hope that you will subscribe. Oh, we're also on YouTube. You can watch these interviews. You can see yours truly, as well as my beautiful guest today. And we hope that you'll subscribe there as well on YouTube, the channel. Tell Me Your Story. Just look for the guy with the black hat. Only today, you'll be able to look for the woman in the black hat as well. So that's going to be very exciting for you folks to watch these videos as well. And we also encourage you to spend time going within. Spending that time during the Decade of Perfect Vision, where we ask you to spend time in that inner life that we all have, listening to that still small voice. And we're going to be talking about that a lot, I think, today. We also encourage you to support this program if you can. We have a PayPal account. It's for your security as well as ours. If you can support us financially, thank you, thank you, thank you. That is also to those who have supported us and those who will in down the road there. And so I can't thank you enough for listening to the program. 82,500 at this present moment of listens since January 1 of 2018. And the number just keeps growing and growing and growing. And I'm glad folks are listening. And it's interesting to see which videos as well as audios are like at the top of the list, the most watched, the most listened. Well, I think this program is probably going to be one of those as well. And I hope that you will make it a point to tell your friends and family and so forth about it. Because we're going to be talking about, the shaman heart, turning pain into passion and purpose with Stephanie Urbina Jones. And I want to thank you so much for joining us here on the program. You and I are both sporting the black hat look today. Thank you for being with us.
It's wonderful to be here.
I am so excited to have you on the program because I have been, it's interesting to say it this way, interested in shamanism for decades. I've always found it fascinating. Tell me a little bit about, because a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, shamanism enters one's life because of one's lineage. Is that true with you? And what is your lineage?
Well, it is for me. I am Mexican American. And if I trace back my roots, my indigenous roots back to Mexico, I definitely know that it is part of the healing ways, the healing hands and intention from my ancestors that has been brought forward in a more modern way. But I definitely feel like it's connected to my roots.
And it was calling you, or did you find it and go, oh, click, this is for me?
Well, my story is for me, it's interesting because it starts with my great grandfather Manuel Anaya Urbina, who crossed the border in El Paso in 1907. He had been raised Catholic. He was intending on being a priest. He'd gone to the Vatican, had this amazing experience and desire to be a man of God. And in Mexico, that's serving as a priest. And something which we don't know exactly what happened so profoundly was painful for him that he left the Vatican. He came back to Mexico. He left his faith. He left his family. He crossed the border into El Paso, became a Baptist minister preaching the gospel. And as time went on, a few generations down the road, I got to meet him and know him. And it was in my own walk with faith, my own desire to be connected to the great mystery, a God of my understanding, when I hit some trauma in my own life and tried to find my way through the traditional forms of therapy, talk therapy, and or the religion I had been raised in. I could not release or change the patterns I was living in until I went back to Mexico and started to do some of these healing journeys that helped get me in my body. And this is reminiscent of, the ways that the indigenous shamans would find their way through an issue. They knew that it was always held in the body, and they would do ceremonies and experiences that helped to get to it and to release that energy. And so that's the way I came to my shaman heart.
Which is, of course, the title of your book. It's also the title, if you will, or the name of a website, shamanheart.org. You can find out about Stephanie Urbina Jones, as well as the music. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. She is a musician. She's a singer. And we are going to be featuring some of her songs here on the program. We'll have her share a little bit about each of these songs as we go in and out of our program. I think that you're going to enjoy them. I think that, matter of fact, when I got them, I put them in my truck and I threw one in and I just listened to it from front to back, so to speak, beginning to end, and put the next one in and so forth. And it was wonderful to listen. I can connect a little bit, especially with the El Mariachi Azteca CD, only from the standpoint that on my mother's side of the family, they all spoke Spanish, and when I was a kid growing up, didn't understand a word of it. All I knew was to listen for my name. If I heard my name, I came a running. Otherwise, they weren't talking to me or about me. And then I took a semester of Spanish in high school, and the intention was to get out of a semester of English. I remember very little of my Spanish class, other than I obtained the nickname of El Toro.
El Toro, the
El Toro,
bull.
yeah, because I was not a happy camper. But when you're getting bullied, you're not a happy camper. But that's another story for another time. The book that you have, Shaman Heart, is actually it's a collection of stories. It's a collection of stories from what is it, 20, 26 different folks who are sharing their experiences. What in shamanism? Give us a little bit of a background on how this book concept was created, so as to go out and find the various authors of these stories to put into this compilation.
Well, so last year I was invited to write on a book that was a collective book called Sacred Death. And part of the story of my life is I had this profound moment when my grandmother, my little Mexican grandmother, invited me to her bedside, and I midwifed her between this world and the next. She spoke to my grandfather on the other side. She spoke to me on this side before she passed. And before she died, she put a mission on my heart. She says, Mija, which means little girl, you are going to be a mensajera. You're going to be a messenger. You're going to be carrying our culture, our stories, our passion. And she literally said this. She said, you're going to be making country music with chili peppers, and you're going to be carrying it all over the world. And so when I was invited to write on this book, um, I said yes. And it was a profound experience with Brave Healer Productions to be a part of it. And in the middle of writing my chapter, I had this vision, and this vision was, oh my goodness, what if, because I do lead with my husband journeys in the pyramids of Teotihuacan. What if we took 26 authors on an author's journey and we led them through this experience that is so profound, adventure, and then we all wrote our story of how our pain, that which had hurt us the most, had become kind of like a cosmic breadcrumb and turned into our purpose and our passion for life. And so the idea was born. I called the publisher, Laura DeFranco, who's an amazing woman, and said, what do you think? And she's like, yes. So on January the 5th, 2022, in the midst of the pandemic, snowstorms, canceled flights, somehow 26 leading teachers, people in their field all made their way to these this vortex of transformation, and we led a journey with fire walk and walking the Avenue of the Dead and all kinds of experiences. And then we all went home and wrote our chapter. And then on April 6th, Shaman Heart, Turning Pain into Passion and Purpose, came out and went number one in 9 categories on Amazon the day it came out. It was like
Wow.
amazing.
Wow. Well, first of all, congratulations. That's, you know, when what I have noticed specifically about music is that when an artist is singing about their life, their journey, their pain and sorrow, their happiness, their joy and passion, that is when the people listening are really connecting. And it's, and again, I don't think that it is necessarily, and I would venture you would agree with this, that a musician's intention 95 to maybe 99% of the time is not to become a star, a superstar, and all of that. It's that they need to express what's going on in their lives, and they become that, shall we say, star. But what I'm kind of getting is that the listener embraces them, so to speak, into their family. Oh my God, she went through this or that or the other thing. Oh, I can relate because I went through this, that, or the other thing. When you are on the road, and I know that it's been a while for some of us, I'm not a musician in that regard, but those who do travel and so forth, normally pre-pandemic, I call it the COVID era, and all eras have beginnings, middles, and ends. There is that, there's got to be that connection to the audience in that regard. That is something that you experience, and it's family, right?
Absolutely. It's family. It's a spiritual experience. It's, when we're traveling, I did 6 shows last week, including, a show that's aired on PBS called Wood Songs. I did the Grand Ole Opry last week. And I came back to Texas and played a show for Cinco de Mayo. So we are traveling nonstop. And, right before that show, sometimes it's like my light feels dim, and I really have to conserve my energy and then really prayerfully open my heart. We all do, and move this. We call my music now honky tonk mariachi, and just to watch this the sound, the symphony of sound from violins to trumpets to honky tonk guitar to the words to open people's hearts. And, of course, when they were coming through me, I'm having a powerful experience when I'm writing a song like Mariachis Make Me Cry or Adios Mi Amigo to my grandmother as she's passing from this world to the next. So that intent is in those songs. And then, if we're conscious of it, often, many times, most times, people feel that. They feel that joy. They feel that sadness. They feel that bittersweet longing. And hopefully they're inspired. My greatest desire is for people to not feel alone and to believe that just maybe whatever they're going through could actually be helping make them who they were born to be. So whether it's a book or a song or an interview, I hope that that's the message that they hear, you know.
We are talking with Stephanie Urbina Jones, and she has a book as well as a website, Shaman Heart. ShamanHeart.org is the website. We'll be linked to that main website. There are several others we're going to mention throughout the program, so folks, you might want to take note as we continue talking with Stephanie here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and we are going in and out of this program with some songs that you have selected for us to feature here on Tell Me Your Story. And the first one that it's actually, when I went to look for it, I thought, okay, well, Revolution. And I started listening. Wait a minute, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Oh, there it is. And this particular one, it's called Revolution. And tell us a little bit about this particular song and why you chose it to be featured here.
Well, I mentioned to you this profound experience. Prior to my grandmother passing, I was a songwriter and I loved my life, writing songs with coffee with my best friends in my pajamas, no makeup. And then she passed and put this mission on my heart that I could not deny. And so I went back to Mexico to remember who I was. And it was there, and I write about this in my chapter in the book. In San Miguel de Allende, Mexico, I met these 16-year-old musicians, and they didn't speak English, and I barely spoke Spanish, but we spoke music, and we spoke of our heart. And so we wrote that song in the streets of Mexico, Revolucion en mi corazón. And it was also there during that period of time that I did my very first healing journey, breathwork journey, with a little Mexican curandera, medicine woman, and had a vision of my grandfather, telling me that he had his way of translating his message of love, speaking the gospel, and that my message of love would be through words and songs, and that it was time for me to go. And so that song marked the beginning and the fire and the fuel that I would need to carry me the 20 years down the road up to now.
Well, let's take a listen to that, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit about the second song that we will come back in with. I'm Richard Dugan. This is Tell Me Your Story.
I saw you smile, my thoughts started running wild, like a star in a darkened sky. I felt a light coming on inside. By the time that I left Texas, I was barely hanging on. My life was such a fine mess. My heart was breaking like the dawn. I knew that packing up and leaving was all that I had left. Had to put the past behind me. So I kept on heading west, out to the city of the angels, out by the ocean's edge, where I cried out to anyone who listened as the waves came crashing in. I was searching for salvation, deliverance from the dark, and the resurrection of my heart. My dreams were tossed and scattered, my faith had turned to doubt. nothing seems to matter. When the fire for life goes out, I tried loving through the anger, I tried laughing through the tears, I tried running from the demons that have finally brought me here, out to the city of the angels, out by the ocean's edge, where I cried out to anyone who listened as the waves came crashing in. I was searching for salvation, deliverance from the dark, and the resurrection of my heart. At the end of the highway, by the edge of the sea, the road to forgiveness brought me to my knees. Out in the city of the angels, out by the ocean's edge, where I cried out to anyone who listened as the waves came crashing in. I was searching for salvation, deliverance from the dark, and the resurrection of my heart.
We are back here with our very special guest. She is, now, do you refer to yourself, because I was talking with someone who embraced and followed and studied the shamanic traditions that they chose to, but they don't care much for using that term. Do you refer to yourself as a shamanic healer? What terminology do you prefer?
You know, I tell people that I'm a transformational teacher, a Toltec transformational teacher, and a sacred witness, you know, to walk with them. I use the word shaman heart because that feels, you know, sacred and right to me, because it is because of my pain that I'm able to walk with people who are in pain and kind of hold the road sign for where they're going and saying, don't give up here. This is an important passageway for your life. You know, so it takes having a shaman heart to be able to see into the dark and walk with people to the other side.
So the song we came back listening to was entitled "The Resurrection of My Heart," and share with us a little bit about the background on that one.
Well, as I mentioned, I had a lot. I walked with a lot of pain. I had these great big dreams, and I went to Nashville, and I had these great big plans. But because of the trauma that I had experienced, I just couldn't live them. And so, you know, I would freeze on stage of 5,000 people. And so I had to give up that dream long before my grandmother said what she said. But it was finally an invitation to go to the pyramids of Teotihuacan on this, they call it the initiate's journey, to walk the Avenue of the Dead, that I really finally came to re-experience my pain in a new way. And as I write in the book, one of my teachers said, Stephanie, you are committed to your suffering. And I realized at that point that I had been conditioned to suffer, and that I had a choice, and that I could literally, quite literally, take the needle off of that old record of pain and suffering and begin playing a new song. And so that really was my first journey to Teotihuacan on the journeys that we lead, was really the beginning of the resurrection of my heart. Um, and living the amazing, beautiful life that I live now.
Well, as I said earlier, folks, we are going to be listening to a number of songs throughout this program, and certainly hope that you will enjoy them as well as I. One of the things that really struck me, because I certainly hear you go to Nashville. When a musician goes to Nashville, they're going to Nashville to be a country artist specifically, not exclusively, but specifically. You go to L.A. or Chicago or New York, any other genre you want. I worked for 6 months back in the mid '80s for a country station back in Phoenix, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. When I moved to Santa Barbara and a few years ago bought a truck, a Ford F-150. Of course, I've been wearing the hat long before 2000. I found it funny when we moved to Santa Barbara, and I heard the news story that Brad Pitt had brought back the hat. I'm going, you're an idiot. You people are crazy. I've been wearing, I mean, hats have been around a lot longer than me, even. But it's like, no, 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 no. I brought back the hat. Not Brad. Love him dearly, but no. Anyway, one of the comments that was made by a non-country person, they probably enjoy it. It's not maybe their favorite, what have you. But they were at, for example, the CMT Awards, and I watched those awards. And they said it was one of the most amazing experiences. It was energetic on stage, but it was so low key in the back from the standpoint that they treated you like family. There was no hype. There was no, any of that. These are just regular people. Some of them who, between their musical gigs, they're riding the John Deere tractor and plowing the fields and herding the cattle and doing whatever it is that cowboys and cowgirls do out on the range. Is country music, and maybe this is also partly from your heritage, was country music just was a natural fit, or was it tell us about the connection there. Again, we'll also talk about the mariachi side of it as well.
Well, they kind of come together for me because I was born on the west side of San Antonio. And so my first memories were like, these giant family gatherings. Everybody, the term mi casa, su casa, my house is your house. Everybody was welcome. And we always you'd be hearing boleros, songs from the border, from Mexico. And then we'd also be in the backyard, and this is where the mariachis lived on this side of town. So when they came from Mexico, they'd be rehearsing before they'd go down to the mercado to play. So they'd be wafting, those classic songs over my grandparents' fences. And at the same time, always in the backyard, there'd be a radio playing country music. So, I mean, all the greats, Patsy Cline, the Outlaws, Willie Nelson, Loretta Lynn, whoever, it was always blaring. So these cultures always came together for me. And I think that, I had a vision of that, having a honky tonk band with mariachis on stage. That has always been the dream for me.
And now that dream has come true, and you are now living that in your life, both as a. It's hard to put it in the context of solo artist because you're not up there by yourself, and I get what that means. What solo artist means. For example, I'm so thankful that I get to count myself amongst songwriters now because I've written one. Okay, it's a start. But even though it's me doing the vocals, I've got a woman who played 2 different tracks on guitar. I have a guy who came in and did played the mandolin. And So, so it's like, okay, I got my virtual band behind me, so to speak, and I did it old school, like they used to, where you'd lay down one track and then you'd play that and lay down the next track separate, and then the next track separate, and so forth, and then you'd mix them down. I didn't have the musicians in separate rooms. This was one track at a time, ladies and gentlemen, and that's not the way it's done these days. It's if you have your own studio. And I'm curious, when you're at home, do you have your own studio where you're able to create and make and record, especially when things come up?
No, I don't. I have a writer's room in my house that I'm rarely at. I'm always on the road. And even from the very beginning, I was a staff writer for Sony Music, and I play the guitar, not really well, but it's all in my mind. I can hear the orchestration. And so I'll sometimes write an entire song kind of on my guitar, but especially the whole body of a song. And then I will find, a guitar player and hire him, and we'll find the groove of it, and it gets built from there.
Hmm.
I co-write, and I also wanted to go back and speak into country music and also the Mexican culture. These two are so perfect for each other because it's all about family and faith. And you're right, anytime people come to Nashville, or that's always been the thing about even the Grand Ole Opry, you're backstage with Garth Brooks or a brand new artist, and everybody is always encouraging and loving and familial, as you said, so yeah.
And that is one of the beautiful things about it, and that's what our program is all about. I use the term community. Family works fine too, but we're trying to build community. We're trying to enforce or reinforce, I should say, not force. We don't want to force anything, because people have a right to make their own choices. But at the same time, it's like, come on, we can do this. We can work together. We're not victims of circumstance. And that we are looking for those new ways of living. And what's funny is that in spite of the fact that that's what we're looking for example, on this program or with this program, because the old ways, they're just not working. And when I speak of the old ways are those ways that are currently being used, and people are getting left behind. People are coming out. For example, this whole pandemic. I remember thinking, and I even verbalized this back in maybe it was June or July, maybe even August of 2020, when they had already told us in March, all right, everybody go home and stay inside. They didn't say stay inside. You can go out into your front lawn. Now, I know there were a lot of places like New York and so forth, and if you live in a high-rise apartment complex, kind of tough to go out on your front lawn. I get that. But if you live on a ground level house, they didn't tell you had to stay inside. But a lot of people, that's what they did. And of course, I was one of the fortunate ones. I went to work every day. I haven't missed a day, okay, since before the pandemic. But there are people out there who feel so disconnected. They feel so apart, separate, and whatever other adjective you want to use, from not just their friends, their families, but from civilization, from society. And that long period, I think, is going to manifest in the real need and desire to connect. And I think you're seeing that now that you're back on the road again. I think people are kind of acquiescing to the virus and basically saying, you know what? I get what our authorities are telling us, whoever they may be. I understand that. But I have to tell you that I'm willing to take the risk for me. Okay, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to try not to put anybody in jeopardy.
Mhm.
But I've got to connect with other human beings. Are you finding that as you travel
Absolutely.
about?
Absolutely. I mean, imagine, a couple of years into it, and in January, the first trip that we made and that 26 authors made into the heart of Mexico. Yes, it was like so amazing to be together. And I think that it makes it that much more precious. And I think that's one of the great things that most of us have learned from this experience. What's important, who's important, and how do we want to spend our life? Because it just really becomes clear that it's TikTok, you know? Um, so I think that's been a gift from this whole thing.
This particular book we're talking about here, ladies and gentlemen, is a program called Shaman Heart, Turning Pain into Passion and Purpose. And it is a profound, sacred journey amid a raging pandemic, snowstorms, fires, and canceled flights, leading spiritual teachers, preachers, and healers from around the world coming together as Stephanie Jones. Stephanie Urbina Jones is my guest here on Tell Me Your Story, and we're going to take a listen to another couple of songs here that that you have selected for this program. And these next songs actually come from the CD, and I should say that the last two songs come from your CD, Fiery Angel. And before we jump to the next CD here, Fiery Angel is the title, as also the title of one of the songs in there. Tell us a little bit about the title as well as the title track.
You are good. Nobody's ever asked me that question, but on that same very first adventure to the pyramids of Teotihuacan, where my life, literally, my prayers were finally answered, like something really started to change within me. I made my way at the end of the journey to the top of the Pyramid of the Sun. And there with the sun blazing down into my heart, I heard these words that, Stephanie, you will be a fiery angel. You will use your voice as a sword of light to cut through the darkness. And again, these words and that experience live in me and guide me in everything that I do, to use my words, to use my heart, um, to be a light. So that's where it came from. Fiery Angel had to be the title. I wrote a song with another co-writer, and there you go.
So the next CD we're going to take a listen to is called Shaman Heart, which also is the title of the book, but it's also subtitled The Bittersweet. Let me see here. The Bittersweet Beautiful Ride. And now the song we're going to listen to, though we'll hear that title track as well. The song that's coming up next is called Prayer in the Dark, which makes me think about what I referred to at the front end of the program about spending time going within. One could refer to it as, especially in Christian circles, a prayer closet, as it were. Talk to us about this particular song.
Well, for many of us, sometimes it takes the hardest moments of our life to finally bring us to our knees. And certainly that was the case. I've always been a prayerful person. I've always had a conscious connection with a God of my understanding, and do consider myself actually a Christian woman. But I went through a divorce, something I never wanted to happen, and I was just broken. And my father-in-law at the time passed, in the middle of this, and it just broke me to the place where it was hard for me to get out of bed. And my co-writer came over, Mark Marchetti, and we just wrote through it, and we told that story of surrender, and God help me, help guide me. And as again, back to the pain and purpose, is that it is in that surrendering, it is in that asking, that something comes and guides us always, always. And so it's one of my favorite songs. I got to sing it at the Montreux Jazz Festival. Folks can look that up online. And yeah, it's a powerful song.
And that's what we're going to listen to next. Again, we're going to listen to this from the CD Shaman Heart, Prayer in the Dark, here on Tell Me Your Story.
I light another candle, I get down on my knees. I'm going through the motions, I'm trying to believe. I need mercy and forgiveness, I need to roll away the stone. I need to know that someone loves me, 'cause tonight I'm so alone. Is there anybody out there? Is there anyone who cares? A God up in heaven watching over me down here. Well, if there is, can you hear it? This longing in my spirit, this whisper from my heart, this prayer in the dark, this prayer in the dark. They say you walk beside me, there's footprints in the sand. They say you are my shepherd, well, Father, here I am. In this moment of weakness, I'm so weary and confused. I'm calling out your name, I am reaching out for you. Is there anybody out there? Is there anyone who cares? A God up in heaven watching over me down here. Well, if there is, can you hear it? This longing in my spirit, this whisper from my heart, this prayer in the dark, this prayer in the dark. I wanna believe, I wanna believe that there are angels up above. I wanna believe,
I wanna believe,
I wanna believe
I wanna believe
that there's life after death, and then all that is left is love. Tell me, can you hear it? This longing in my spirit, this whisper from my heart, this prayer in the dark, this prayer in the dark.
I wanna believe, I wanna believe, I wanna believe, I wanna believe.
There is no faith without doubt. That's what faith is all about. There is no faith without doubt. That's what faith is all about. Hallelujah. I can hear the angels sing. Hallelujah. I can hear the church bells ring. There is no faith without doubt. That's what faith is all about. There is no faith without doubt. That's what faith is all about. I'm talking about faith. Find the faith in the dark. Find the faith in the dark. Find the faith in the dark. It's written in the starry skies above. Take a look at all of God's creation. We were born to love. Like a man loves a woman, like a woman loves a man, like a flower loves the rain, a farmer loves his land, like a cowboy loves his freedom, a dreamer loves to dream, like a mama loves her child, a choir loves to sing. Oh, I believe we were born to love. I believe we were born to love. From the Bible to the Beatles to the old man walking down the street, the scriptures, the singers and the sages, the children's laughter keeps reminding us. It seems like all the voices through the ages are saying we were born to love. Like a man loves a woman, like a woman loves a man, like a flower loves the rain, a farmer loves his land, like a cowboy loves his freedom, dreamer loves to dream, like a mama loves her child, a choir loves to sing. Oh, I believe we were born to love. I believe we were born to love. The angels are dancing up above, shouting hallelujah. We were born to love. Like a man loves a woman, like a woman loves a man, like a flower loves the rain, a farmer loves his land, like a cowboy loves his freedom, dreamer loves to dream, like a mama loves her child, a choir loves to sing. Oh, I believe we were born to love. I believe we were born to love.
We're listening to music from Shaman Heart, the Bittersweet Beautiful Ride. That's the CD, and we're going to let you know that this is Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I'm Richard Dugan, and she, in the black hat, if you're watching on YouTube, is the author of, the creator, if you will, of the compilation of 26 stories, or actually 25, because one of those is hers. Shaman Heart, Turning Pain into Passion and Purpose, Stephanie Urbina Jones, and it's really a pleasure to have you with us. We just heard, coming back from the last song, we just heard Born to Love, and I was listening over and over again, and I finally got the words right to one of John Denver's songs. He's one of my favorite artists, and he had one of these songs that was, I'm not sure if the title is correct, but the line that I'm thinking of when I heard this song of yours, Born to Love, he says, we're not intended to be alone. That's not what we were created for. And yet I kept hearing, and that's not, I'm paraphrasing the line, but actually I thought I was hearing that we were meant to be alone, the way the way I was hearing it in my ear. Horrible when you listen to a song and you think, oh, I've got the words down, and then you go to the concert and you're singing the wrong words with the people around you, you know. Tell us a little bit about this, because I think that it's a truism, to say the very least. It's a universal truism.
I think, for me, that song, the first words are, have you ever wondered what you are doing here? Well, the truth is there's a simple explanation. It's written in the starry skies above. Take a look at all of God's creation. We were born to love. And so the essence is we were all born to be here on this planet at this particular time, and the families and the situations that we're in, and born to find our way through that maze. And sometimes in the midst of that, and because of that, we find our love, our passion, and our purpose. And then our soul can really sing. Really. That's
Mm.
really it.
Well, and it makes me think of the chorus line of my song. I'm a good man doing the best I can.
I love that. Yes.
And you know, I was challenged by this, and I think about this. I don't know if I don't know if I'm losing my mind or what, but when I come down the hill off of the hill in here in Santa Barbara to go to work, and I'm dealing with the various types of drivers. Okay, in terms of the way in which they drive, this is not ethnically or age or sexistly listed. This is I don't know who's behind the wheel. All I know is they did this, that, or the other thing. The maneuver was just not, and I just, it's like, oh, come on, keep your blood pressure in check, okay, pal? Uh, and I have to remind myself that, you know what, you sometimes, even though you're very cautious and you try to use that turn signal all the time to let people know what you're doing, you know, um, you are subject to the same foibles, if you will. And I was challenged. I'm curious of what your thoughts are on this. I was challenged not long ago in a statement or question. They said, well, what about all of the mistakes that you've made? And I responded, and I share it this way I responded with a statement that I wasn't sure where it came from at first. And the response was, I have never made a mistake in my life. What I have had are life learning lessons, if you will. Isn't that what we're here to do? As well as we're here to love. We're born to love, as your title, as that track says. But that we don't make mistakes. We learn. I mean, that's why we go to school, right?
Yes, it's the ultimate mystery school of life. And, the more we become conscious creators, the more we allow our hearts to long and search and find that love along that path. Again, it's a maze. We're going to be hurt. We're going to hurt people, not because that's what we want to do, but because, we're learning. We're
It's
in
just,
kindergarten,
yeah.
and then we're in junior high and high school, and then we become hopefully masters of our own humility and our own compassion for ourselves first, and then for others. And then in that compassion and grace, we're able to love. And so, yes, we're hopefully learning all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I even pose the question to people, why do you send your kids to school? What's the point? I mean, isn't that where they're supposed to learn? Well, guess what? They refer to the earth as a schoolhouse. And
I,
that's why we're here. And boy, I'll tell you what, uh, in the last few years, we've probably all learned a heck of a lot. Not only learned a lot about ourselves and the people around us, because we've probably spent a lot more time around them than we usually do, but we've also learned about new ways of doing things. It's funny, people are really, and this, to me, I'm curious about your perspective because when you travel, you obviously sell tickets in exchange for money. All right. There's an economic whole thing there. And yet, at the same time, there's actually a really cool country song that I really enjoy listening to. And the line, I think the chorus line goes something along the lines of, I was asked in an interview not long ago, where'd you grow up and where'd you go to school? And if you weren't doing this, what would you be doing if you weren't doing this? And he starts telling the story of, well, if I wasn't doing this, I'd be da 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 da, and I'd still be doing this if I wasn't doing this. So we are finding that would you say that through these last few years experience that more people today are finding out what is really, really important, and it's not the political scene, it's not the economics, it's not the educational system, it's what we started talking about at the front end of the program. It's family, it's community.
Yes, I mean, I think the greatest gift of all of it is it's brought us collectively, the whole world, to our knees. And with the invitation of carving out our hearts and what is the most important thing. And for me and for the people that I work with and serve, it is to feel it all. You know, of course, there's great sorrow. I can't turn my heart away from what's happening, across the pond and the devastation that's happening there. I'm tuned into that. And at the same time, I'm tuned into my heart and to this moment with you and this exchange and this being alive and present right now and enjoying it, every bit of it. If I'm eating a sandwich, if I'm having a conversation, and I'm making my choices for my life based on that I want to do, my heart's desire to serve love and to experience love. And so when I put it in that perspective, I have grown so much in the last few years. And so, yeah.
I have to say that there are probably longer stretches of time where I feel that way. And then there are those moments when I'm coming down the hill, getting into traffic, when I'm going, oh God, I have completely forgotten everything I've learned. That kind of thing is like, I got to take this one over again, I guess, this test.
Of course, we're human. I mean, it's the human experience. It's, of course.
Yeah. But at the same time, one of the things that really, it's like a lot of people when they make these mistakes and or they have these lessons, and people will excuse it away by saying, "Well, I'm only human," as if that's a bad thing. I mean, just because of the way that it's phrased, it's like, but the reality is, Stephanie, that even though we are in human, as we call them, human bodies, we, that essence that animates the body, is immortal. It's not human. And that takes us, I think, to the next song we want to take a listen to, that is sort of your mantra, your theme song for your life, if you will, also from Shaman Heart, called Chiseling Out My Soul. Tell us a little bit about the background, though you may have already shared that, but just as far as the song is concerned, so we'll go into that with your explanation.
Well, I had a therapist by the name of Maximilian, and this man was willing to sit with me as I found my way in my school of life during a really important time. It was also during this time that I went to Florence. And I really, coming from Texas, a small town, I didn't understand art history, honestly didn't care about it. And then I turned the corner and I came heart to heart with the David, Michelangelo's masterpiece. And then I started reading about Michelangelo and how he said that, within every stone is the masterpiece. And I believe that that's us too. We come here in this school of life and we're invited to chisel out our soul until we become who we were born to be. And so that's the essence of this song. And Michelangelo, chiseling out my soul like Michelangelo found spirit in the stone. I'm chiseling out my soul.
I think there's another element to that too that says that what was I don't know if it was he that was asked the question, or another sculptor, if you will, who was asked the question about the big old piece of granite or marble or whatever it was they were to chisel. Well, so how do you know what to chisel away? I chisel away that doesn't look like what I'm going to create.
Exactly, exactly.
So it's very interesting. Well, we're going to take a listen now here with Stephanie Urbina Jones, and this is Chiseling Out My Soul. This is from Shaman Heart, also the same title as the title of her book, and the website, shamanheart.org. There are several others we're going to talk about here in just a few moments. Here on Tell Me Your Story.
Well, my friend Max died a few years back, but I think about him every day. His words of wisdom guide my heart when I've got a tough choice to make. He said everyone's got an artist's eye, painting pictures with their lives. Everything you say and do is a frame canvas of your own truth. So I'm a chiseling out my soul like a Michelangelo. Found spirit in the stone. I'm a chiseling out my soul. I'm a precious piece of treasured art. I'm not for sale. I've worked too hard to find out who I am. And at my age I don't give a damn. I'm a chiseling out my soul like a Michelangelo. Found spirit in the stone. I'm a chiseling. Woo! Every shadow has a light. Every dark night will see a sunrise. Every yes can have a no. Every hello has a goodbye. Let that river run and take me where it will. Down into the valleys and through the rolling hill. It's a bittersweet, beautiful ride. An emotional roller coaster we call life. I've healed, I've hurt, gone from bad to worse, come out better on the other side of this bittersweet, beautiful ride. I have laughed so hard I've cried so hard that I could hear my heart breaking. I lived and lost so many dreams, gone to the extremes. And there I have held the hand of someone that I love and watched them leave this world. And I have felt the rush of living when I first held my baby girl. It's a bittersweet, beautiful ride. An emotional roller coaster we call life. I've healed, I've hurt, gone from bad to worse, come out better on the other side of this bittersweet, beautiful ride. Dance in the sunshine, come on and dance in the rain. Sing through your sorrow, because tomorrow's another day of this bittersweet, beautiful ride. An emotional roller coaster we call life. I've healed, I've hurt, gone from bad to worse, come out better on the other side of this bittersweet, beautiful, bittersweet, beautiful, bittersweet, beautiful ride. Woo!
I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and I thank you folks for staying with us. We are listening to some beautiful music by our guest here on the program today. The track that we just listened to is called Bittersweet Beautiful Ride. And that is the subtitle, if you will, of Shaman Heart, the CD, Shaman Heart, the book, as well as the website .org, shamanheart.org. So we hope that we'll be linked to that website as well. Tell us again, I realize that it starts to become a little redundant because it's the same theme that is running through all of your music, which is wonderful. That's great because people are not going to get lost, going from one to the next track. But it's like each one is a little different color, a little different hue. Tell us about the color and hue of Bittersweet Beautiful Ride.
Well, that's the title track. It's the synopsis of the whole thing, which is, within the yin and the yang symbol is within the darkness is the light, and within the light is the darkness, that you have to experience it all. All of Mother Nature teaches us, it has to rain in order for the crops to grow. We have to be able to feel it all and honor it all, the whole bittersweet, beautiful ride. And then we become more whole, fulfilled, even happy beings when we can honor all of it, the whole bittersweet, beautiful ride. I could not, within 1 year have my daughter and at the same time be there as I said goodbye to my grandmother and literally watched her spirit leave her body and feel both jubilation in my body for her new life and at the same time feel the sorrow that I won't get to see her on this plane again. So it's the whole bittersweet, beautiful ride.
Absolutely. I can certainly relate to the second part of that. I experienced, not firsthand, mind you, but I experienced the loss of my eldest sister back in late March, and had the memorial in in late April. I flew back to Phoenix to be with the family, and it was really a wonderful experience. And I have to say that the memorial was, as I've said many, many times, it was the most beautiful mixture of laughter and tears. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful experience to be with not just the family, the immediate family, but also the aunts and uncles and friends. Matter of fact, my sister went to Arizona State University when she went to college, and her dorm mate showed up for the memorial.
Wow.
Yeah, dorm mate showed up. That tells me that she made a huge impact on the lives of the people around her. Two things that really struck me, and I would love to hear a little bit more about your grandmother and the things that she taught you. But one of the things that my sister taught me through what I was shared with after her passing was that in spite of all of the health issues, starting with childhood and asthma, and by the way, she took up the French horn. Who does that? Has
Right.
asthma and then takes up what I would, it's a horn, a wind instrument, if you will. But in spite of all of her medical issues throughout her entire 65 years, she never showed bitterness at all.
Wow.
Never, according to my sisters, according to my mother. And then the other thing that they shared, and I can attest to this, and it's like when I think about it, I can see and hear her laughing. Her husband, who had a camera with him from the day I met him over 40 years ago when they first came to the house, when he first came to the house, always had a camera around his neck. Thousands and thousands of pictures. They had two slide presentations at the memorial. And he says, yeah, I had to go through thousands of pictures just to cut it down to 300.
Wow.
But
Wow.
she smiled, as he put it. He says, her laughter was so big, the way she would laugh. It wasn't loud, it was just big. You saw both rows of teeth. Okay? And she had a magnificent, wonderful laugh. And so, as I said earlier, the beautiful mixture between laughter and tears at the memorial. And it was just, and you would think you had closure with your grandmother, right? Because you were right there.
Yes,
I
yes.
didn't get that closure until the memorial. Are you ready for this? This blew me away. I was so glad they did this. His daughter, my sister's daughter, my brother-in-law's daughter, had his camera. They were at the mortuary. They had my sister laying on a table, and his daughter took a photograph of him standing, and they were both in silhouette, standing before the table looking down at her. He
Mm,
stood straight up. He was standing tall, looking
oh,
down, right? Not hunched over.
oh, that's
And I
beautiful.
have to tell you, that gave me closure because now I could see and I could really feel. I it was magnificent. I know that sounds bizarre to say,
Oh,
but it was like, thank you so much for giving us that blessing, that
mhm.
gift of closure. And we can all say, yeah, I'm glad she was in my life. And I still believe she's still in my life. Your grandmother's still in your life.
Absolutely, for
Give
sure.
give us a little synopsis of grandma. Oh, by the way, how did you refer to her?
Grandma.
Grandma. Okay.
Grandma, although she was my abuelita, and I write in a song that you can look up. It's called La Reina de los Ángeles, which means the Queen of the Angels.
Hmm.
And I write, I can smell frijoles in the kitchen. I can hear her laughter in the air. I can hear her yelling, Hey, mija, please do something with your hair. La reina de Los Angeles is dancing through my dreams. Yes, she's with me all the time. I have no doubt that part of the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing is that she is guiding from wherever she is. The magic, because you can't make it up. It's beyond, it's heaven sent the way this orchestration of my life, and I believe many people's lives are, if we have the heart and the eyes to see.
Mm.
Uh, so she was feisty, she was spicy, she was sometimes mean, and she was a woman before her time. So if she would have been at this time, she would have been making giant she would be speaking, singing, telling stories that mattered. So,
Did she do much cooking?
oh my gosh, every day. I mean, always.
Oh.
Oh my God, I know. And I didn't get that gene, I have the Uber Eats gene.
Okay.
But I know I love to host and have people,
Hmm.
over. I cook songs is what I cook.
There you go. Great
Yeah.
recipes. Great recipes. My grandmother on my mother's side, oh my Lord, Christmas time, they had the assembly line going in the kitchen at her home in Florence, Arizona, making tamales.
Yes.
And my grandfather made for her this concrete wood burning stove with a giant iron griddle on top, where she would go out there and she had the balls of dough that she would then do this for the tortillas. Never used utensils when she always picked the corner at the edge of the tortilla to flip it. And you want to know how you can tell a truly fresh homemade tortilla?
Wow.
Is the little black circles where it sat on the griddle just a touch. Okay.
Yes. Oh, wow.
That's how you
That's
know.
great.
When you buy Telteca or Mission or whatever, and I'm not disparaging them by any means. Those are not homemade. You can
Right.
tell. Tamales. God, I'm trying to think of some of the other things. And we would eat them out of the refrigerator, not even heating them up. They were that good.
Oh, yummy.
Oh.
Oh,
Now, I have learned a very important lesson over the years. I've been searching for the tamale that tastes like hers. And
mm,
there are some that come close, but no cigar, if you will. And someone finally told me, Richard, you'll never, ever find it.
You'll never find it. You never find it. And maybe that's why I lead journeys in Mexico, really. Once a year down there because I do get a lot of homemade
Mm.
tortillas and Mexican food at the Dreaming House in the pyramids of Teotihuacan. Yes. So,
Now, I'm curious. I have been to the Tulum ruins on the east coast of the Yucatan Peninsula, and that was quite spectacular. Tell me about, first of all, when did you start going down there? And is that the only place that only is the sacred space or place that you take tours or that you yourself might go to just solo or with a few people?
no, when I first started going, it's been 15 years ago, that very first journey. Um, and I had been studying under a very popular author by the name of Don Miguel Ruiz. He wrote
I.
a book called The Four Agreements.
Mhm.
And I happened to be a student under one of his main apprentices, and that's who I went. And it was Miguel that had reawakened the energy of Teotihuacan and laid out this initiate's journey that takes you through basically a map of transformation from hell, the place that's hell, where you get to like call up the things in your life that are still bugging you and still you're struggling with. And then you take a leap of faith and then you surrender and walk intentionally. And we're leading you this whole way
Mhm.
down the avenue of the dead with an invitation to, as those things come up, to release them. And then at the Pyramid of the Moon, this is a place that represents the idea of the Great Mother that will
Mhm.
take anything that seems too big or too painful, and you can have your own experience of resurrection of your heart or rebirth or reborn, being reborn in your thoughts, in your mind, in your spirit. And truly, it really is the experience of it, not just understanding it in the mind, but walking this. People's lives are transformed in a week like mine were. So we lead that journey in the pyramids of Teotihuacan this June 14th through the 21st. You can check us out at freedomfolkandsoul.org or go to shamanheart.org. We're leading that journey. We also are leading a journey in Peru with like one of the most renowned Incan shamans at the end of August through September. It's like the end of, yeah, August the 27th through September 7th. Um, so excited about being there with Jorge Luis Delgado. And then we lead a journey in Oaxaca, Mexico, which is a heart of the indigenous, where so much of the food and the culture and the art comes from. So we love leading journeys to amazing places that you want to go and have an adventure in life, but then you bring the spiritual, meaningful, sacred to it. So that when you leave, not only is your heart just like bursting with like love and passion, but you also have that connection to your own spirit.
Mm. What is your shamanic, I'll put it that way, or transformational healer's mission statement?
To walk with and empower others to remember who they are and to live their life with passion and purpose.
And what is your vision for the future?
Oh, okay. Well, as an artist, as a recording artist, I've just finished my album that I'm the most excited about. It's called Manuel's Destiny, and it documents my great grandfather's journey of faith and how over 100 years that was connected to mine with a Bible that someone found in an antique store and sent to me right before I made history, doing what he told me I would do, sharing our culture in stories and songs. So this album was recorded in El Paso, where he crossed over with the greatest of honky tonk musicians from Austin and Nashville and LA, and then these mariachis from El Paso in Mexico. It's a beautiful symphony of sound and storytelling. And so I'm looking forward to that album coming out. I'm looking forward to, we're creating a show with the Nashville Symphony to create an honoring the ancestors of country music for Dia de los Muertos,
Mm.
and
Oh, yeah.
telling stories of these great country artists and their lives, and telling my story with the Nashville Symphony and the Honky Tonk Mariachi. I want to travel and take this show all over the world. We're looking forward to continuing to work with people that feel called and really at crossroads of their life, that are like, you know what, I really want to live. I really want to change my life. That's what we do. That is what we do really well on these journeys.
Well, you and I may meet on the road of traveling the world, because I want to take this show on the road, going around the world, talking
Yay!
to people about how they're changing their lives and the lives of the people around them. It's just incredible. I wanted to ask you another question, and we're going to take all of the overlay of politics and all of the other stuff. You and I probably would agree that what is going on the outside is a reflection of what's going on the inside. Help us from your shamanic perspective, your transformational healing perspective, to understand the metaphor, the symbology behind, and we'll focus specifically, so we can keep it simple, on the migration across the Mexican-U.S. border and it doesn't matter who they are, they're coming here. What does that say about us on those higher levels? What does that say about us as a society, as a civilization, in terms of, what's going on inside of us that this is happening on the outside?
You mean that the migration, the immigration is coming, and that we're either open to it or not open to it?
We could put it in that context, but maybe first let's ask the question, why? Why are they coming and taking that symbol? What inside of me is migrating?
Oh, that's good. That's really good. I think that having the opportunity to travel and sing all over the world, there is an understanding that America is a promised land, and the land of great dreamers, and the land of anything is possible, and of freedom. And so many, including my family and obviously your family, have spent generations bringing their heart, their sacred hearts from Mexico, and coming here to help build this country. Really help build it, help all the foods we eat are from their field of dreams south of the border. And so I just feel like there is a natural born dreamer in all of us. Whether your ancestors came from Ireland or Czechoslovakia or Mexico, there is this in GPS calling us to the next frontier. And they are being called here, and in my humble opinion, are a gift to our country, because so many of them are still connected to their heart and the land and their faith. And so, we are in the bigger picture, in the rebirth of humanity.
Yeah.
And birth is messy. When a woman gives birth, it's going to get crazy, as we all know.
Well, that's what I hear. I have no firsthand knowledge.
It's true. We all know this. And so we're just at the heart of that, the heart of all these old paradigms being met with new ones, and everybody's scared, and everybody's fighting for their own, and that's natural. And that's what has to happen in order for us to kind of, again, rebirth this new way of being and living in order to stay here in the big picture on the planet and to thrive.
That is the one word that we strive for more than anything else throughout all of the programs I've done, the people I've spoken with over 43 years. I am sick and tired and exhausted from just surviving. I want to thrive. Now, I have. I have found ways of, even though it may be moment to moment, hour to hour, that's great because at least I know what it feels like to really thrive. And it's these moments, these hours spent talking with people such as yourself, where I feel that, and I did find out this is an actual word in the dictionary. I feel that thrival energy,
Mm,
okay? And that we can. I know there are a lot of people that are very pessimistic and they're thinking it's the end of the world and Armageddon's coming and the great apocalypse, the zombie apocalypse. I've often said, all right, if that's happening and they're going to start launching nuclear weapons, all I know is I want to be at ground zero, okay? I do not want to survive that. But I just don't see that happening. Do you think we're going to learn from history eventually?
I think that the most important thing we can learn is for us to harness our wellness and our consciousness and our love no matter what. That to me is the gift or the invitation from having to be at home. I know you've been working, but a lot of us having to turn inward. How can we make first that peace and grow that field of our own consciousness and wellness and thrive internally? Because when we do, that can't help but be mirrored back in all our relations. And that is the indigenous understanding that's coming forward. And I know this because this is my own living. My living is that I was suffering in my mind and my spirit always until I began to do my own inner journey work. I started meditating and praying and being around people that helped me carve out my heart. And in that consciousness, and as people are awakening and taking responsibility for their thoughts more and more, there's an army of people that are coming from that place. And my feeling is like, I don't know what's going to happen with the world or Armageddon or any of that. What I know is what's important for me is to be present in my heart and in my love in this moment with the people I'm in relation with.
I remember when I was working 15 years at a Christian radio station, and I would share some of the things that I was hearing there with some other people who were more, shall we say, metaphysical or esoteric, if you will. And they said, well, you have to bear in mind that if they're looking for the devil, they'll find it, and if they're looking for God, they'll find it. So if you're looking for Armageddon, you'll find it. If you're
Exactly.
looking for paradise, if you will, and I know people love to call Santa Barbara and the Santa Barbara South Coast paradise, and that's fine. If that's what you're looking for, then you'll find it. It's what your perspective is. It's what your perceptions are, and we're not here to change anyone's perceptions. We're here to show you different perspectives, so that if you want to choose them, they're there for you to choose. And you have shared an immense amount through not only this program, but also through Shaman Heart, turning pain into passion and purpose. It's a #1 Amazon bestseller. It's Stephanie Urbina Jones, and this is Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and Stephanie, I want to thank you so much for being with us here on the program. We had played a little juggling with the schedules, and we managed to lock you in here for this particular program. We'd love to have you back again, and hopefully one of these days, as I said, we will get a chance to meet face to face. And if you're ever out here in the Santa Barbara area, let us know. We'd love to have you in studio to continue this conversation.
Thank you so much for being who you are and doing what you do. It's so beautiful and important. So thank you so much for having me on.
Well, thank you. And I do have three final questions that I like to ask you, that I ask all of my guests. Now, you may have answered these questions during the interview, but I like to ask them directly. But before I do, I need to thank you, the listener and the viewer, for watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, as we are giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m. for a special edition of Tell Me Your Story. We are streaming those programs live at richarddugan.com with podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, many other locations across the internet, with 82,500 listens to date from January 1, 2018. Thank you so much for listening and spreading the word. We're also on YouTube, where you can watch these interviews, and that's Tell Me Your Story, Richard Dugan. Just look for the guy in the black hat. With this interview, you look for the gal in the black hat. And we hope that you will support us financially if you can. PayPal is our link. It's there for your security as well as ours. And then we also ask you, take some time, just a couple of minutes a day. And who knows, it may lengthen, but just a couple of minutes a day. Spend time in that prayer closet, in that quiet, still, calm, peaceful place, listening to that still small voice. If nothing more, to help to soothe your nerves a little bit, to soothe the energy, to calm things down a little bit so that you can go back into, don't be of the world, but you're going to be in it. You don't have much of a choice in that regard, but we hope that you will take time to do that. And with that said, we jump into our three final questions. And the first is, who is Stephanie Urbina Jones?
A lover of life and a midwife of joy, passion, and purpose.
What is it that you hope to or want to achieve through the work that you are doing now?
I want to set the hearts of millions ablaze with their own love and imagination of what is possible.
And finally, what is your life's purpose?
To bring the joy, to bring the joy, and to remind people that we were born to love.
Stephanie, I want to thank you once again for joining us here on the program.
Thank you.
And I thank you for listening and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love to love.